Charlotte and I came up with an idea of sharing with you guys our 4 worst books of 2024, along with
our best book of the 2024 year so far.
And
I bet a lot of you guys are like, oh my goodness, what? How is this on that list?
5 for thrilling, 2 for topic. How do I fully rate that?
I feel like you guys have heard this book so often, but I'm never gonna stop recommending it because I love it so much.
It was very refreshing. I know it's not everyone felt the same way, because I heard some people weren't in love with the story, but lots of people adored it. It wasn't necessarily just the ending for me, even though the ending brought it all back, but it was a process and the progress throughout. Hey Bookworms! It's Mom, aka Sarah.
And Char.
Welcome back to our channel. It has been a minute since, I feel like every time we come on here, we're like, it's been a minute since we filmed a video, but it has seriously been a minute.
Yeah. Well, life has been lifing, okay? Like, things have been going on. I feel like we've been pretty busy.
Yeah, and you're in school.
Yeah.
Just trying to juggle everyone's schedule to create is not always easy, but we're still here for it, and we will always, forever be trying to film.
Exactly.
So anyways, without further ado, today Charlotte and I came up with an idea of sharing with you guys our 4 worst books of 2024 so far that we've read, along with our
best book of the 2024 year so far.
That's right, because that's subject to change. According to my Goodreads list, I am 36 books in at the current moment, because I for some reason have been in a major reading slump. I think I said it in the last video, but that when I thought I was there, I clearly was not, because I was having a hard time picking up books. But I recently picked up one yesterday, and now I'm just like, I'm just so excited. You know that feeling?
Oh yeah.
So I don't feel like I'm in a reading slump anymore. But that said, I think the whole point behind saying that was that I have 14 more books to go.
Yeah.
Not counting the 3 that I'm currently juggling in between. So if I wrap up those 3, I'll have 11 left to go. So anything is possible in 2024. Like,
exactly.
I can still have my best book waiting for me to read.
You never know what's around the corner. Exactly. For my reading goal, I'm at 39 books actually. So I have 11 books left to go, and I'm currently reading 3. So we'll see. One of the ones I'm actually reading is Beartown by Frederick Backman, and I've heard lots of good reviews. So. And
you have to read that for school.
I'm reading it for school.
And for pleasure.
Yep.
That's really cool. Anyways, we're not gonna bore you guys too much. We're gonna jump right in. As per usual, Charlotte and I are gonna alternate, and we're gonna just continually sharing our worst. Why am I giving air quotes?
Fun.
Our worst until we get to the best.
Exactly.
You go first.
It's gonna be so fun. Okay. The first one that I'm gonna be starting off with was Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter.
We'll insert it here because you don't have a physical copy of that one.
I don't have a physical copy. I rented it from the library, that's why I read it. And I know people love this book. Like, they love it. And I'm just like, what? What?
So you mean you don't recommend it to me?
No. No.
Wow.
Like, I had high expectations from the book, I think. I expected it to be better than it was, and it didn't even hit like the okay mark. No. It was just very annoying to read.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Some of the main key things I really didn't like, I didn't like the main girl because she was really annoying. Everything was about like me, and they threw in some, I guess, like trauma for her, like with her mother, and I understand that part of her, but I don't think they handled it anyway. They're just like, oh, I'm destined to be with this guy, and it was like a whole forced romance. I'm not gonna spoil anything for you guys, but the romance part too between her and Wes was just not getting for me.
Okay.
I could not care less about that. But yeah, I really did not enjoy that book that much.
Okay.
I think I gave it either like a 2.75 or a 3-star on my Goodreads.
And some people say and argue and say that 3 is not bad.
Yeah, 3 is, but I feel like 3 is just like,
3 is not bad.
It's just like,
it's the middle ground.
Yeah. I like the writing. The writing's okay. It's just like the cast of characters and how things were like plotted out. I didn't like it.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, I'm taking it all the way back, and this is a This is actually a book that I DNF'd, Archer's Voice. I'm not gonna lie, when I first started reading it, I was really into it, but then I got to the 3/4 mark and then I started just not enjoying it. I felt like it was just kind of going around in circles, and where I felt like it should have just kind of taken off, it was still dragging and dragging and dragging. So I ended up DNFing this book. The concept was really good. The concept, I think, was good, right?
Yeah.
In terms of, you know, the character Archer and the girl finding and seeing good in him and able to look past the things that everyone else just couldn't look past.
Yeah.
But my gosh. Yeah, I DNF'd it. I think in my head, I'm like, I knew the story had like, it did have like, you know, oomph to it, whatever the heck oomph is. I just feel like it still has potential. So while I just got bored as I was reading it, I feel like there's still hope that the end could transpire into something great, because this book was really well loved by a lot of readers. Yeah, it was really well loved by a lot of people who read it. If you read it and you didn't enjoy it as much, leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on this one. But I think there's still hope. That's all I'm gonna say. Oh, I also want to point out, I haven't rated it yet, just because I haven't completed it. I have a hard time trying to decide if I want to rate it because I haven't finished it to kind of know where it's gonna go. That could very well help to change it, right?
Exactly.
So.
Hey. You never know. Okay.
You never know.
Okay, the next one for me is Powerless, and I bet a lot of you guys are like, oh my goodness, what? How is this on that list? And I'm just, yeah, well, okay, I didn't completely hate the book, but I thought it was going to be so much better than it actually was. It just didn't live up to what I expected. And
is that the hype?
Like,
is that the
it's
hype
just like
talking?
the hype. I guess it's just the hype talking. Like, oh, I thought it was gonna be like this, and then some people might not think that's a good way to gauge the book, but I didn't enjoy it exactly. And I feel like that's my rating, you know? 90% of the book was the romance, and I didn't like the romance very much. Oh, no. There were some parts where it was actually really good, and then it was just like, it took a turn and I was like, oh great, you ruined it. Oh shame.
Is it like cringe?
Some parts are cringe. It's just too much of it that it doesn't feel special anymore.
Okay, yeah.
You know, when it's like, oh, these parts, if they're far and few between, then you really cherish the moment. But when it's like every other page, then you're like, oh, okay, when is this gonna stop? The plot was actually okay. The plot was good, and I wanted to focus a bit more on that part, because I feel like there's a lot of potential for the world building, but it didn't focus on that as much as I wanted it to. Like, the main girl and the main guy, they just felt like character tropes smacked into the book. They're just like, okay, you're gonna be in love with each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think it was executed as nicely as it could have been, but if you want to try it, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to actually stick with the order of which I kind of read these books. So the next one that I'm gonna be sharing is Betting on You. Now, I actually kind of debated back and forth between this one and Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan, because that one was like a, but I chose this one because this one I put down like so many times, and then I left it forever, and then I just randomly picked it up to complete it. So
you did. You took like a 2-month break.
I took a 2-month break from this book. At first I thought, okay, it's just like an age thing, because the characters were so young. I was having a hard time connecting with them. But then again, I'm like, I was young once. I could like relate to certain things if you were like making some sense here. This kind of goes hand in hand with what you were saying about the first book that you mentioned, because this is the same author. And her writing style is very similar. I kind of just wasn't enjoying the way the character girl was written. She sounded like a big whiny baby who didn't she didn't care. She didn't want to face any realities, and she didn't care about anyone else but herself. And I'm just thinking, even in the midst of your plans and your plotting and your thinking, the average person who has a kind, caring heart, they're going to think things through at some point, and it will like click, and you'll realize, okay, what I was thinking, I realized was super selfish, and I need to do better. No, like nowhere along the lines do these characters are, I don't want to say that these characters, because the guy, I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah.
What was his name? I don't remember his name.
Charlie?
Charlie in this book, he was good on a whole. but the main girl, what was her name? Bailey. Bailey was just so annoying to me, and I couldn't get past her character. And it's interesting, even when I picked up the book and I finished it, I can't say it made the book better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, I gave this book a 2.5, but on Goodreads, if you're following my Goodreads, it will say a 3 because there's no 0.5 ratings on there, but that's what that is for me. Yeah. Should I take off my thing halfway through?
What do you think?
Oh.
Are you hot?
No, I'm cozy. I'm just nice and cozy. I have on my little shacket thing here. I was debating if I should take it off, but I just really like it because it's like a little cozy blanket.
It contrasts nicely with your hair. Your hair.
And it's basically a poncho, and I just throw it over, and I'm good to go.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Next book for me, if you watched one of my reading vlogs, you would have heard this already, but it's As Good as Dead, and it's the 3rd book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. Oh my goodness. I had a migraine reading this. A migraine?
Yeah.
Why did I keep saying migraine? I had a migraine reading this. It was so difficult.
Oh no.
It took me about 3 weeks to actually get to this book because it took such a long break. No. This is the last and final book, and it ended so poorly. Like, I gave it a 2.5.
And this was in your attempt to also read this book like sequentially?
Yeah. I actually read all 3 books in like 2 months.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm assuming you read other things in between that.
I read things in between.
Oh, because I was thinking like you read it like back to back. I always try to do that, but then I fail at it unless when we do our buddy reading, we do well at that. But when I try to do it for myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, take me out of this world for a bit, please.
Yeah. And it's so bad too, because when you leave the world, then you're like, okay, I don't want to come back to it. And then you start a whole other series, and then you're juggling multiple series. Yeah. Multiple worlds, literally. It's so bad. But yeah, this book, no.
Happy's over.
Like, I'm just gonna kind of pretend that it didn't happen and that it ended a different way in my mind.
Ended book 2.
Yeah, book 2 ended, well, book 2 didn't really end very well either.
Oh, snap.
But yeah, this book just sucked me.
Let's just say this is as good as it gets. Okay.
Yeah, but I can't say a whole lot about this book, I'm sorry, but yeah.
Okay. So the next one for me, you guys would have seen not that long ago, is The Teacher. I read this one about a month and a half ago, picked it up for fall because clearly this was what, my 2nd, 3rd, 4th, wait a second, how many Frida McFadden books have I read at this point? Because she wrote The Maids and all that. We wrote The Three Maids.
The Three Maids, and then Never Lie.
Never Lie.
And then
this one.
This is your 5th.
So this is my 5th Frida McFadden book, and I've really been enjoying her writing. This one took me for it just took me for a turn, because I did not, while I read the synopsis or the little blurb on the back when I first got this book, that was a long time ago. So I have this new thing where I like to go on a little adventure with a book. I just pick it up and dive right in. Well, I did that with this one, and I did not expect the topics, just where it was going. And I think that was a struggle for me. While her writing and the thrilling part was thrilling, you know, it kept me engaged, it kept you wanting to read more, it kept you wanting to know what the heck's gonna happen. I just didn't really enjoy the topic, the subject matter of this, and I just found it so cringe so many times. It's just like, it's like, ugh, to me, it's gross. And I just, yeah, subject matter wise, I wasn't loving it. So for that reason, I think I gave this book like a whole 2, because I didn't like it like that. But it was good in the thriller aspect. Yeah, exactly. So 5 for thrilling, 2 for topic. How do I fully rate that? I don't know how to put that together, but this was not like my best read. And you ever know, sometimes like you read certain books like that and the topic just throws you off. Even though the book itself it might be good, but the topic just makes you feel some type of way, because books
like,
do
it doesn't
evoke,
vibe well with you.
Yeah, books evoke emotions, right? And my emotions were all over the place with this, and I was just like, oh gosh, every time they got into certain things, I'm like, no. The poor girl in this book was so naive. I'm like, your mama taught you nothing? Oh, come on. Like, it wasn't even just one of those random situations like, you know, I don't I don't want to spoil it. But honestly, what I'm going to say is definitely kind of like on the back already. But when someone takes advantage of you, there's some times where you think it's so different, right? But in this book, the girl is so naive, like so naive to a point. Like a lot of her behavior is what got her in this predicament.
Exactly.
And it's like
the
slightest thing that was said to her just clouded her mind in general. She wasn't able to think and just, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. The answer is no for me, because I know I'm not going to read this one again. It wasn't, it just wasn't it, okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, chop next.
Well, back from that. Okay, last one for me. I've been reading quite a few ebooks. This is actually the last book that I read. Like the most recent book I read. And this one it's not a book people really know about, at least not that I've ever heard before. And it's called I'm the Weapon.
I'm the what?
I Am the Weapon, or Boy Nobody.
Wait
it has two different titles because like in two different countries. I think in the UK it's called Boy Nobody, and then in the US it's called I Am the Weapon.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Why?
So I mean that was confusing for me when I'm trying to research the book.
It's confusing for me right now.
So for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna call it I Am the Weapon.
You're just picking a title and sticking with it.
I'm gonna call it that, and y'all gonna have to stick with me. Okay, I'm sorry for those of you who are in the UK, but
wow.
Yeah, this one was like totally random. I saw it, and it was about this guy who's an assassin, and he sent on a mission. And I'm like, okay, you know what? We're gonna give this a shot. This sounds interesting. It sounds cool. And I actually just got out of reading this whole other one too that I DNF'd. That was also really bad. And I'm gonna insert it here. It's called The Tiger's Curse. I didn't like it. I got like maybe, I guess like a quarter of the way through, and I'm like, no, I'm not reading this book. So I picked
bonus worst book rating right now.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you give it?
Yeah, which one?
Tiger's whatever.
Tiger's Curse. I would give that, well, like right now, I'd probably give it like a 1.5.
Whoa.
I didn't like it.
Sounds like it takes the cake.
I only got like a quarter of the way through, but how the writing style was, it was like, oh, she got up in the morning and she did this, and then she went and she did this.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I just like, there was no connection with the story. I was skimming. I was looking in the future of the book to see what. Yeah, no.
Sounds like the author may have been a rookie.
Oh, another thing that did not vibe well with me though too was that a lot of it was like on Indian culture, right? And like mythology, and the author was white.
Oh.
And I mean, like, I'm not saying that someone not of the culture can't write something of the culture, but it's just like at times it felt a little weird. And I was looking at ratings, and people were like, some of the things she says is like so racist, and I'm like,
oh no.
Okay, I'm just gonna put this book down.
Yeah.
So there's that. But back to the book I was talking about, Boy Nobody, I Am the Weapon, which is the title I'm gonna be using. I gave this one, I think, a 2-star because it was just not very good. Like the characters in it, the whole plot was okay. The plot was okay. The characters dragged the book down. It was really bad.
I commend you for being consistent and actually making your way through that book.
I like skimmed half of it, but I absorbed the storyline. But like the dialogue that didn't matter, I'm just like, no one cares about this. Is your brain any
better for it?
No. Like, well,
okay.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say about it, there was romance in it too, a slight romance. And this book was written by a guy. And not saying guys can't write good romances, but some of the girl characters that guys write are they're not very good. Right?
No shame.
All the girl characters in that book, they sucked. I'm just gonna say that.
Oh wow.
I did not like them at all.
And on that note, on to my worst. On to my last worst. So my last worst book for 2024 thus far, I repeat, thus far, is this one. It's called Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. And I'm conflicted by this book because there are aspects of this book that I really love, and then there are aspects that I was just like, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh! What is going on?
We got the Tesla, maybe.
I think this book wanted so hard to be funny. This is my first book by him, by the way, by Frederick Bachman. And while I like his storytelling perspective, and I like the fact that he pays attention to details in like the way he talks character-wise and all those things. It's just that the premise of this book was a little off for me.
Yeah.
The characters, one thing I didn't like about it was the repetitiveness. There was certain humor that was said here and there that just kept getting repeated all the time throughout the book, and it kept just throwing me for a curveball. Sometimes I'm like, wait a second, am I reading the right part? Because it's like, I just heard this already.
Yeah.
And here it is again. And yeah, it just felt kind of dragged out because some of the characters were just straight up annoying.
How many characters are there in this book again?
I think it was 8.
There's 8. I feel like it's a lot.
I think it was 8.
That's like a lot to handle. 8 different characters?
Yeah, I think so. Don't quote me on that. I may be wrong. But yeah, I think it was 8, and it was just, yeah, it was just a lot. There was so much going on, and yet it still felt like nothing was going on. From the beginning to the end, like it was all taking place in the same like area. It felt.
It's like it didn't expand on anything.
It didn't expand too much. Yeah.
It's so funny how like in the very beginning though of reading that you're like, wow, this book's really good.
Yeah.
And this might be one of the ones that I look back on in the future.
Yeah. It's just the end. I think it's the ending, and then as I progress, like, you know, when you start a book, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Right? And so the excitement is there, and the characters, you're getting to know all the characters, and it's like, oh wow, and it's just going and going. But then midway throughout, I was like, okay, like, where's this going? And then the main characters, some of the characters in there are just plain old annoying. It just, oh my gosh, it was just getting on my last nerve at certain parts. And then the ending was just meh. Like, I think I've kind of figured out the ending to begin with.
Yeah.
If anyone's read this, you'll know the ending, and it's like
nothing. Kinda. Would you say you had a lot of expectations for this book to be good?
I did, because a lot of people raved about this. I think in 2024, well, it doesn't even matter what time it is, what year it is. One thing I have learned this year is that when books come out and they get their initial rating, they're not always, I don't want to say accurate, but
you could say accurate.
they're not always accurate. You know, I feel like there's just a hype and everyone just jumps on the train, and while the hype is there, I think maybe the hype just gets into you too, and you're like, okay, and it's just exciting to be like, I'm in this group of people who are reading these books at the same time, and it's just like, you know, hype central. I think there's a bit of that going on, because as things subside and things settle down, there's like a dose of reality that kind of clicks in. Especially when you're reading your book by yourself and you're not reading it like with everybody else who's running the rat race and trying to read it in the little book clique that everyone's in. You know what I mean? Like, I was reading it by myself. I didn't know anyone else was reading it, and I just trying to soak it up myself. And then I was like, oh, okay, like that's what it's about. So I think that's one thing I've learned, is to not just go off of the hype.
Yeah.
And I think the same can be said for you with Powerless.
Exactly, yeah. You can get influenced by a lot of other people's ratings and reviews, and if you don't like it, then you're like, oh, is there like, am I wrong about feeling this way to a certain thing?
Yeah.
You know, or like, is it just me? And then you do find other people who are like, oh, I didn't like this book, and you're like, oh, okay. You know what? Like, my feelings toward it are
valid. They are valid. Exactly. So. Yeah. Anyways, those are our worst books thus far for 2024, and now we're gonna each show you our best at the current moment.
This is gonna be so fun. This is gonna be so fun.
Okay, so you go first.
Okay, I feel like you guys have heard this book so often, but I'm never gonna stop recommending it because I love it so much. And that is We Free the Stars by Hexaphazal. Oh my goodness.
Favorite book.
It
may be your favorite book of all time.
Yeah, it probably is, because I love this book so much. Like, I don't think I can say that enough. This is the second book in We Hunt the Flame. And I feel like this book series is so underrated. Like, I've seen it a couple times on Book Talk, but like, this needs to get hyped up more, because it's so good. So good. Like, I would recommend this to you. I recommend it to you. You better read it.
Let us know if you guys have ever read it. I know how much she loves this book because I've seen her read it, and sometimes I see it on like the current shelf and I'm like, what the heck is it doing here?
How did it get here?
How did it get here?
No,
because
honestly,
she's always like dabbling in it.
Yeah, every time I go to my bookshelf, I pick it up and I have to read some of my favorite parts.
Oh my gosh. I can't relate to that. I can't.
You never done that?
No. I know your dad does that. He does it a lot with like some of his favorite books, and he'll skim and read his favorite parts, but I seldom do that. But now that I'm such a book girly, maybe I'll start. But I'm only gonna start if the heart is telling me to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't have that much time in a day to go and pick up the other book. But.
Soon enough, like you just remember the page. Oh yeah, it's like right here.
You're so funny. Anyways, for me, mine is still Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. Absolutely love this book. I wanted to say, like, it's not my only 5-star. I have actually quite a few 5-star on my list, and so in terms of just going, oh, 5-star, I could just pick a book. No, because I've learned that you can give a book a 5-star if it did you well and you really enjoyed it. But at the same token, one can even tug on your heart even more. You have to know how you feel completely about the book. And I know that this one for me is still that book. If you guys are unfamiliar, it's about a couple that were going through a divorce, and then they kind of have to work together because they still have things to deal with, including children. And in the midst of all their things, they kind of go through all these different challenges, and basically that kind of leads them back together. So without spoiling anything, that's basically like the, what do you call it?
The synopsis?
Yeah, that's basically like the little mini synopsis of this book. And the way Kennedy Ryan wrote this book, like, it is so felt. Like, it's so heartfelt. I can't tell you I've read anything like this. And after reading this book of hers, which was my first book by her, by the way, I just ran to all the books. I read her other one that is second to this, This Could Be Us. And I really love that one as well. But this one still tops it by far. And then I also read like another series of hers, the Hoop series. Really enjoy that. Like, her storytelling game is fire. Her characters are just so believable.
Yeah.
So well written. Just the connecting with like when you're in the book, you're just like, I felt like I was immersed into Kennedy Ryan Academy. So yeah, and I just kind of went on. I read so many of her books now. There's still others that I think I've gotten, and others that I still want to read, but I kind of took a break because I'm like, okay, I still want to branch out and read other things.
Exactly.
But it is so easy to get sucked into another Kennedy Ryan book because I haven't been disappointed thus far. But Before I Let Go was amazing. Like I said, things could always change. There's still lots of room to, acquire other favorites. But
exactly.
What are the chances, you think, of finding one that tops yours?
Ooh, that's hard. That's hard because this completed the duology. Like, that was the final book. Mm-hmm. And it was a good ending. And I'm like, wow.
So it's going to take a lot to top that.
It's going to take a lot to top it, that. It's also very interesting too because when it's a series, then it's like, oh, you've been in this world a bit longer, and it's harder for just like a book you pick up that that you weren't as invested in to just immediately beat that, I had one that was close though.
But I mean, like, in terms of like the ones to come, do you think?
To come?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's gonna have to be pretty darn good. Right? So yeah, for me, I felt like for mine, that was the first book that I picked up, so it wasn't in a particular series because that was the beginning of the series, right? Yeah.
And then there was a second book in the series, but it was someone else's story. I really loved Yasmin's and Josiah's story. Yeah. And it was very refreshing. I know it's not everyone felt the same way because I heard some people weren't in love with the story, but lots of people adored it. It wasn't necessarily just the ending for me, even though the ending brought it all back. Yeah. Like, it was like the puzzle piece that reconnected, but it was a process and the progress throughout.
Because it feels like you're on a journey with the people in the book, And
it was exactly. And it was like the progress throughout from all the ends, like mother, father, sister, brother. Like, there was so much growth. And being a family person myself, being a mom of 5 and and being someone that's been married going on 21 years, I know the different challenges that comes with marriage and raising children and all that. So it was very relatable in just those ways, and understanding like marital struggles and understanding teenagers and understanding kids. And yeah, it was just like a beautiful, beautiful thing to witness the progress of to them coming back to a place that they felt like they couldn't have been, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly.
Returning to a place that they didn't see themselves, because I would assume they didn't see themselves there, hence why the divorce to begin with.
Yeah, it's like showing how the impossible became possible. Right? So, yeah, and those who connect the story the most, you know, they'll feel it the most, you know, and they'll connect with it, and they'll just feel the story and enjoy it more, I think.
So that is it, guys. That's it for our video. This was like a really fun concept. I think we need to get ourselves some mics. So we can sit and we can talk, and it can be a little smoother and crisp. Yeah, we need to do that, because I really love sitting and having like podcast talks with Char, and in between we just want to do some fun stuff where we just talk about characters and talk about you know, books and relate. So we have some fun stuff coming. It just takes time, so don't be alarmed when you don't see a video. We're working on it, and we're trying to put some shorts in between as well, so don't hesitate to check out our shorts section as well. But we hope you enjoyed this video.
It was so fun to make. It was honestly so fun.
It is.
Because this is honestly just how we talk off camera as well. Like ranting to each other about the books we're reading, the books we read. And
always giggling.
Yeah,
we're always
exactly.
So, yeah. Anyways, that was really, really fun. So thanks so much for watching.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more content. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.